What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We all love to think that winning an Oscar is the ultimate proof that a movie is a masterpiece, right? Wrong. The Academy is biased, traditional, and frankly, they miss the mark all the time. To prove this to you once and for all, today's video is split into two mind-blowing sections. In the first half, I am counting down the top 30 greatest movies in cinema history that were completely ghosted by the Oscars, meaning they left with absolutely zero awards. And in the second half, we are diving into 20 incredibly powerful films that absolutely deserve the ultimate title of Movie of the Year. But the Academy chickened out and only threw them minor, consolation, technical prizes. Make sure you watch this entire video until the very end, because we have 50 legendary films lined up that will completely shatter your respect for the objectivity of the Oscars. Get comfortable, smash that like button, because we are starting right now. Number 30, The Big Lebowski. The ultimate cult classic by the Coen brothers that gave the world dudism and endless memes. Can you believe the Academy completely ghosted this genius comedy? Not a single nomination for the script or the acting. Absolute madness. Today, it is a masterclass of the genre, but for the voters, it was simply too good. Number 29, A Quiet Place. This horror masterpiece completely reinvented how we experience sound in cinema. John Krasinski delivered an incredibly tense family drama where silence means survival. Massive box office, universal praise, and what did it get? Just one technical nomination. Emily Blunt gave a career-defining performance, but the Academy chose to ignore it. A total crime against the genre. Number 28, Zodiac. David Fincher spent years studying the real-life case files to create this incredibly precise, haunting thriller. It is a hypnotic dive into pure obsession. 0 Oscar nominations. Can you believe that? A cinematic masterpiece starring Robert Downey Jr. and Jake Gyllenhaal, completely left in the dark. Time proved them wrong, and today, Zodiac is a psychological benchmark. Number 27, Blade Runner. Ridley Scott's visual triumph that literally invented the cyberpunk aesthetic. Back in 1982, the world was just not ready for this deep, philosophical question of what it means to be human. It flopped at the box office and got only 2 minor technical nominations. Harrison Ford became an icon, and the Academy completely missed the future, right under their noses. Number 26, Prisoners. One of the darkest, heaviest, and most gripping thrillers of modern times. Denis Villeneuve shows exactly how far a father will go to save his child, blurring the lines between good and evil. Hugh Jackman delivered his absolute best dramatic performance, and Jake Gyllenhaal was flawless. All it got was a single cinematography nomination. Fans are still asking questions to this day. Number 25, The Last Samurai. An epic historical drama where Tom Cruise showed unparalleled dedication and respect for a beautiful culture. A massive, heartbreaking story about the end of the samurai era. Despite 4 nominations, it took home absolutely 0 wins. Hans Zimmer's legendary score deserved the highest praise, but the Academy walked right past it. For millions of fans, this movie beats every single winner of that year combined. Number 24, American Psycho. Christian Bale created one of the most terrifying, charismatic monsters in cinema history with Patrick Bateman. This is a razor-sharp satire on corporate greed that was way too radical and provocative for the conservative Academy members. The movie received 0 nominations. Bale's jaw-dropping performance was worthy of every award on Earth, but Hollywood was too scared to even look at it. Number 23, Shutter Island. A brilliant psychological thriller from the legendary Martin Scorsese. Leonardo DiCaprio delivers an intense, mind-bending performance on an isolated island for the criminally insane. The atmosphere is thick, the plot twist is iconic, and the execution is flawless. Yet the Academy gave it 0 love, not a single nomination. An absolute cinematic masterpiece left completely out in the cold. Number 22, Heat. The ultimate crime epic that brought two living legends together on screen, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Michael Mann directed a monumental masterpiece about true professionals. The iconic bank heist scene in downtown Los Angeles is still considered the greatest in cinema history for its audio and staging, and yet 0 Oscar nominations. This is the prime example of a premium award missing a movie that people will watch for decades. Number 21, Taxi Driver. A raw, gritty, and uncomfortably honest masterpiece about a lonely veteran losing his mind in the dark streets of New York City. Martin Scorsese and a young Robert De Niro created an iconic portrait of alienation. The film had 4 major nominations, including Best Picture, but lost to Rocky. Look, we all love Stallone, but Taxi Driver is high art on a completely different level of depth. That was the first warning sign that the Oscars prefer comforting fairy tales over brutal reality. Number 20, V for Vendetta. This powerful dystopian thriller gave the world one of its most recognizable symbols of resistance, the Guy Fawkes mask. Written by the Wachowskis with a breathtaking performance by Hugo Weaving, who never even shows his face. Natalie Portman completely transformed for the role, showing an unbelievable level of raw drama. Shockingly, this legendary manifesto of freedom received absolutely nothing from the Academy. They were clearly terrified of its political edge. Number 19, Nightcrawler. Jake Gyllenhaal transformed into a lean, terrifying human predator with a haunting stare, ready to do absolutely anything for success. This is a chilling look into the dark, cynical world of modern news media, where blood and human tragedy become a hot commodity. Critics loved it, audiences were shocked, but it got just 1 nomination for its screenplay, completely snubbing Gyllenhaal's performance. One of the loudest snubs of the decade. Number 18, Snatch. Guy Ritchie at the absolute peak of his game, he delivered a masterclass in crime comedy with lightning-fast editing and iconic razor-sharp dialogue. Brad Pitt gave one of the funniest and most memorable performances of his entire career as Mickey the Gypsy. The movie is endlessly quotable, but the Academy historically looks down on British street humor and crime capers, so they left this masterpiece with nothing. But to us, it is an absolute champion. Number 17, The Prestige. Christopher Nolan forced us to watch incredibly closely in this mind-bending story of a deadly rivalry between 2 magicians. The movie itself is constructed like a complex magic trick. It deceives you, makes you believe one thing, and then completely blows your mind with a massive finale. Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale are electric, and David Bowie as Nikola Tesla is pure perfection. 2 technical nominations, 0 wins. Nolan's magic was clearly too smart for the voters. Number 16, American History, X. A devastatingly powerful statement about hatred, racism, and the brutal road to redemption. Edward Norton transformed his body and soul to play Derek Vineyard, showing a terrifying charisma followed by heartbreaking regret. The curb scene is permanently burned into the memory of anyone who has ever seen it. Norton got a nomination, but the trophy went elsewhere, and the film won nothing. The Oscars often prefer safe, comfortable topics over raw truth. Number 15, Requiem for a Dream. Darren Aronofsky directed what is arguably the most terrifying anti-drug movie ever made. It works better than any public service announcement. The rapid editing, the haunting musical theme, and a finale that leaves you completely numb for days. Ellen Burstyn gave a legendary performance and got a nomination, but lost. The rest of the film was completely ignored for being too brutal, but it is that exact painful honesty that made it an immortal classic. Number 14, Scarface. Say hello to my little friend. That legendary line by Al Pacino is known by people who haven't even seen the movie. Brian De Palma created a monumental crime saga about the rise and fall of Tony Montana, making it an absolute icon of style and attitude. When it came out, critics hated it for the extreme violence and language, and the Academy completely turned its back on it. Today, It is a timeless masterpiece, proving the Oscars often miss real art due to moral panic. Number 13. Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock literally revolutionized cinema by killing off his main character right in the middle of the film. This thriller laid the foundation for the entire slasher genre and proved that real terror hides within the human mind. Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates created a performance that still terrifies audiences with its dual nature. Despite 4 big nominations, including Best Director, it won 0 Oscars. The Academy was just too scared to reward a film that broke every single rule of its time. Number 12. Leon the Professional. The beautiful, tragic story of a lonely hitman and a little girl named Matilda became Luc Besson's signature masterpiece and introduced the world to Natalie Portman. Jean Reno was magnificent, and Gary Oldman delivered one of the most insane, iconic villains in movie history. It is a flawless blend of action and pure emotion. The Academy completely ignored it. 0 nominations. For millions of fans, Leon is an all-time masterpiece, but the Oscars turned a blind eye. Number 11. The Shining. It is almost impossible to believe, but Stanley Kubrick's psychological masterpiece based on Stephen King's novel was actually nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Director when it came out. Jack Nicholson's descent into pure madness is one of the most iconic performances in human history. Kubrick framed every shot with mathematical perfection, making the hotel feel alive. Time proved it is the greatest psychological horror ever made, but the voters completely failed to understand his genius. Number 10. 7N. David Fincher created the darkest, most atmospheric detective thriller of all time, drowning us in a city of eternal rain and sin. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman try to catch a killer who turns his crimes into biblical installations. That final scene, "What is in the box?" still gives everyone goosebumps and is one of the most shocking moments in cinema history. It got only 1 nomination for editing and lost. The Academy was clearly too terrified to reward a film that exposed human vice so brutally. Number 9. The Truman Show. This is the film where Jim Carrey proved to the entire world that he is a magnificent dramatic actor, not just a comedian with a rubber face. The story of a man whose entire life from birth is a reality show for millions proved to be terrifyingly prophetic. It raises deep philosophical questions about free will and reality. Despite 3 massive nominations, including directing and screenplay, it walked away completely empty-handed. The Oscars preferred safe, traditional dramas. Number 8. A Clockwork Orange. Stanley Kubrick strikes again, this time with his most controversial and scandalous adaptation of Anthony Burgess's novel. This film about ultra-violence and the state's attempt to brainwash human personality caused massive protests and was banned in multiple countries. The main character became an absolute icon of pop culture. It had 4 major nominations, including Best Picture, but the Academy gave it 0 wins. It was just too bold, aggressive, and shocking for Hollywood. Number 7. The Terminator. James Cameron, working on pure enthusiasm and a tiny budget, created a legend that changed the sci-fi genre forever. Arnold Schwarzenegger as the unstoppable killing machine became the ultimate symbol of an era, and his phrase, "I will be back," entered eternity. This is a brilliant, tight techno-noir about human destiny. The Oscars completely ignored the first film, not even a single technical nomination for makeup or effects. Today, it is in the National Film Registry, but back then, they missed it entirely. Number 6. Intouchables. The French masterpiece that made the entire world laugh and cry at the exact same time, showing the beautiful, genuine friendship between a wealthy quadriplegic aristocrat and a guy from the projects. Omar Sy and François Cluzet shared unbelievable on-screen chemistry, filling every single frame with joy and optimism. It became a global phenomenon, grossing hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet the Academy did not even put it on the shortlist for Best Foreign Language Film. An absolute outrage. Number 5. The Wolf of Wall Street. Martin Scorsese, in his 70s, delivered a wild surge of pure energy and madness that would make 20-year-old directors jealous. Leonardo DiCaprio gave 200% as Jordan Belfort, creating scenes that became instant internet gold. This film about absolute greed, drugs, and power on Wall Street was nominated for 5 major Academy Awards. But that night, the wolf left with nothing, losing to safer, more serious pictures. The voters found this celebration of vice a bit too intense. Number 4, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The greatest Western in cinema history by Sergio Leone, featuring the legendary Immortal score by Ennio Morricone. Clint Eastwood in his poncho with a cigar in his teeth became the definition of cool, and the final graveyard duel is a masterclass in editing. This 3-hour epic masterpiece takes place during the American Civil War, where no one is truly innocent. It received 0 Oscar nominations because the Academy viewed spaghetti westerns as cheap trash. Today, critics call it one of the greatest films ever made. Number 3, Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about the Oscars. Well, that is exactly what the Academy did in 1999. David Fincher's masterpiece became a manifesto for an entire generation, ripping consumer society and the male ego to shreds. Brad Pitt and Edward Norton delivered one of the most powerful double acts in history, and the ending still blows the minds of new viewers. All it got was a single nomination for sound editing. It was misunderstood then, but time made it immortal. Number 2, The Green Mile. Stephen King's adaptation that broke the hearts of millions of people around the world and made even the toughest men cry. The beautiful story of John Coffey, a gentle giant blessed with a miraculous healing gift, and a prison guard played flawlessly by Tom Hanks. This is a profound parable about kindness, cruelty, and injustice. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, but walked away with 0 wins. It has incredible soul and depth, which is worth way more than any Golden Trophy. And finally, number 1, The Shawshank Redemption, the movie that has been sitting comfortably at the absolute top spot of the greatest movies in history on IMDb and Kinopoisk for years. An incredibly inspiring story about hope, patience, and true freedom. In 1994, Shawshank received 7 big nominations, but it ran directly into Forrest Gump and ended up with absolutely nothing. Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins created characters that feel like family. The fact that the highest-rated film in history has 0 Oscars is the ultimate proof that an award does not define quality. Now, you might think that completely ignoring 30 masterpieces is bad enough, right? But what is even more bizarre is when the Academy actually recognizes a legendary film, but they are too terrified to give it the big trophy. Instead, they hand them minor awards for sound, editing, or makeup, almost like hush money to cover up the theft of the Movie of the Year title. Let us count down the top 20 powerhouse works that were inches away from total glory but got pushed aside for safer choices. Number 20, All Quiet on the Western Front. This German adaptation of Remarque's legendary novel was an absolute shock to the system, showing war as a completely meaningless, muddy, and brutal meat grinder. The film captured 4 Oscars, including Best International Feature and Cinematography, but the big one, Best Picture, slipped away. The breathtaking visuals and crushing music create an intense trench experience. The Academy recognized its technical perfection, but was too afraid to give the main prize to a non-English film. Number 19, The Social Network. David Fincher and screenwriter Aaron Sorkin created a modern tragedy about friendship, betrayal, and the birth of a brand new era. This film about the creation of Facebook became a flawless portrait of a generation where every single like hides a bruised ego. The movie claimed 3 Oscars for screenplay, editing, and score. Jesse Eisenberg was perfect as Mark Zuckerberg. Everyone predicted a Best Picture win, but the Academy played it safe and gave it to the traditional King's Speech. Time proved Fincher's movie defined the decade. Number 18, 2001, A Space Odyssey. This legendary film by Stanley Kubrick is not just cinema, it is a monumental philosophical treatise on the origin of humanity. Back in 1968, the visual effects were a decade ahead of their time, which is why the film won its only Oscar. But how did this epochal masterpiece miss out on Best Director or Best Picture? Kubrick created a visual language that modern sci-fi directors are still copying to this day. It was simply too advanced for the Academy to fully comprehend. Number 17, 1917. Sam Mendes pulled off a legendary technical miracle, filming this brutal World War I drama to look like one continuous, unbroken shot. We are literally running right alongside the hero through minefields and ruined cities, feeling every single breath. The film completely deserved its 3 trophies for cinematography, visual effects, and sound. However, in the main category, it lost to Parasite, which became one of the biggest shocks of the night. The Oscars rewarded the execution, but feared giving it the ultimate crown. Number 16, Apocalypse Now. Francis Ford Coppola went through an absolute production hell in the jungle to deliver this monumental statement on the pure madness of war. The story of Captain Willard sent to terminate the insane Colonel Kurtz became a psychedelic journey into the heart of darkness. The film claimed 2 Oscars for cinematography and sound, which is just the tip of the iceberg. Marlon Brando's final monologue is one of the most terrifying in history. Yet the main Oscar went to the family drama, Kramer versus Kramer. Unbelievable. Number 15, Arrival. Denis Villeneuve directed one of the smartest and most deeply human sci-fi films of modern times, where first contact with aliens isn't about lasers and explosions, but about linguistics and communication. Amy Adams gave a phenomenal performance as a scientist who begins to perceive time differently. The film received 8 big nominations, but took home just 1 single Oscar for sound editing. The Academy rewarded the noise of the ships, but completely ignored the deep philosophical message about destiny. Number 14, Inception. Christopher Nolan had the entire world arguing over whether that top fell down at the end or kept spinning, creating a brilliant, complex puzzle inside the human subconscious. The visual effects, where entire cities fold into a roll and zero-gravity hallway fights look completely real, became the ultimate gold standard of cinema. The film captured 4 Oscars, but every single one of them was technical: sound, cinematography, and special effects. Meanwhile, Inception is a movie people still rewatch constantly. Number 13, There Will Be Blood. Daniel Day-Lewis delivered a performance of such titanic scale that his character became the absolute embodiment of consuming greed and ambition. Paul Thomas Anderson directed a powerful, heavy drama about the birth of American capitalism through blood and oil. The film claimed 2 well-deserved Oscars, including Best Actor. However, in the battle for Best Picture, it lost to the Coen brothers' No Country for Old Men. It was a clash of titans, but today, There Will Be Blood is viewed as a monumental work of art. Number 12, Hacksaw Ridge. Mel Gibson made a triumphant return to the director's chair with this incredible true story of Desmond Doss, a man who went into the hell of war to save lives without ever touching a weapon. Andrew Garfield embodied the conscientious objector with such raw sincerity that the rescue scene on the ridge keeps you on the edge of your seat. The film claimed 2 Oscars for editing and sound mixing, honoring the technical side of the battle scenes. But the film itself, overflowing with faith and heroism, was denied the main prize. Number 11, The Matrix. In 1999, the world changed forever. The Wachowskis introduced us to Keanu Reeves as Neo and the revolutionary concept of virtual reality. The film completely transformed visual effects, launching a global trend of leather trench coats, dark sunglasses, and the iconic bullet time effect. The Academy recognized the massive breakthrough and handed the film 4 Oscars in every single technical category it was nominated for, but it was completely absent from the main categories. Compared to American Beauty, which won Best Picture that year, The Matrix looks way more revolutionary, opening the top 10. Three Billboards Outside. Ebbing, Missouri. Martin McDonough wrote and directed one of the most fierce, piercing, and powerful modern dramas about a grieving mother challenging the local police department. Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell delivered flawless, legendary performances, rightfully taking home their acting Oscars. The film balances beautifully between dark comedy and deep tragedy. It won 2 acting awards, but lost Best Picture to the fantasy fairy tale, The Shape of Water. That decision remains highly controversial. Number 9. Whiplash. Damien Chazelle directed a musical drama that packs more pure tension, sweat, and adrenaline than any action thriller. The psychological battle between a young, ambitious drummer and a tyrannical instructor played by J.K. Simmons is legendary. Simmons rightfully captured an Oscar alongside the editing and sound mixing teams, but the film was in the running for Best Picture, ultimately losing to Birdman. Whiplash is pure electricity on screen that forces your heart to beat in a frantic jazz rhythm. Number 8. Saving Private Ryan. Steven Spielberg showed the brutal reality of war so accurately that combat veterans were leaving the theaters in tears. The opening 20 minutes of the D-Day landing in Normandy is a masterpiece of technical filmmaking, earning the film and Spielberg 5 big Oscars. However, in the main category of the night, it lost to Shakespeare in Love. That stands as one of the single greatest blunders in the entire history of the Academy. Today, Ryan is an immortal classic, while Shakespeare is only remembered for this theft. Number 7. Joker. Todd Phillips took a classic comic book villain and transformed him into the protagonist of a deep, haunting psychological drama about a broken man in a cold, indifferent society. Joaquin Phoenix delivered a legendary performance, capturing his long-awaited Oscar, alongside the film's incredible composer. The movie became a massive cultural phenomenon, crossing $1 billion at the box office. Just 2 wins out of 11 nominations is an incredibly small reward for a movie that literally shook the entire industry. Number 6. Django Unchained. Quentin Tarantino completely reimagined the Western genre, filling it with his signature dark humor, blood, and unforgettable dialogue. Christoph Waltz conquered the Academy once again, taking home the Oscar for Supporting Actor, while Tarantino grabbed the trophy for Best Original Screenplay. But despite a massive scale and an all-star cast including DiCaprio, Jamie Foxx, and Samuel L. Jackson, the main prize passed them by. The story of a slave-turned-bounty hunter was just too bold for the conservative voters. Number 5. Interstellar. Christopher Nolan sent us on a breathtaking journey through a wormhole to save humanity and remind us that love is the one force capable of transcending time and space. The visual effects built under the guidance of physicist Kip Thorne were so mathematically accurate that they proved to be prophetic. The film won an Oscar for visual effects, but that was it. Just one single trophy for such an epic philosophical achievement is a crime. Hans Zimmer's iconic organ score and Matthew McConaughey deserved way more. Number 4. Goodfellas. Martin Scorsese directed what is widely considered the greatest mafia film since The Godfather, showing the criminal underworld without any romantic filter or glamour. Dynamic editing, a brilliant voiceover narrative, and the terrifying charisma of Joe Pesci, who claimed the film's only Oscar for Supporting Actor. The movie was a frontrunner for the night, but the main award went to Dances with Wolves. Today, Goodfellas is taught in film schools globally as a perfect crime drama. Number 3. Pulp Fiction. In 1994, Quentin Tarantino stormed into Hollywood and completely shattered traditional filmmaking with his brilliant, non-linear storytelling. The film received 7 major nominations but walked away with just 1 single win for Best Original Screenplay, which is honestly hilarious. John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, and Uma Thurman created instant pop culture icons. Pulp Fiction went up against Forrest Gump, and the Academy picked a sweet fairy tale over radical, historic innovation. Number 2. Back to the Future. Robert Zemeckis created the single most flawless adventure film in human history, loved and rewatched by audiences of all ages for 40 years. The story of Marty McFly and Doc Brown features a perfect screenplay, iconic music, and legendary chemistry. It even inspired modern animated hits like Rick and Morty. Amazingly, this cultural milestone has just one single Oscar for Best Sound Effects Editing. Back then, the Academy simply refused to treat family sci-fi adventures as serious art, a total mockery of a masterpiece. And the #1 film on our list of under-awarded masterpieces is Christopher Nolan's absolute titan, the movie that forever changed how the world looks at comic book adaptations, The Dark Knight. A posthumous Oscar for Heath Ledger's legendary Joker and a trophy for sound editing. That is all this monumental crime drama received. The Dark Knight was so overwhelmingly powerful that its complete omission from the Best Picture category caused a massive public scandal, forcing the Academy to permanently expand its nominee list to 10 films. Nolan raised the bar to an unreachable height, proving comic book cinema can be pure, unadulterated high art. Wow, what an absolute ride. 50 jaw-dropping legendary masterpieces that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that a golden trophy does not define true artistic greatness. These films changed the cultural landscape forever, and they did it without needing the Academy's validation. But now, I want to hear from you. Which of these snubs hurts the most? What movie do you think got robbed the hardest by Hollywood? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. If you loved this deep dive, hit that like button, share this video with a fellow movie lover, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss our ultimate countdowns. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the very next video. Peace out.